Hello, hello
Hello.
everyone. Okay. Apparently now this class has been recorded properly, and this class will be available in the cloud. The last class from yesterday, I don't know yet how to post it. I guess that we will find a solution as soon as possible because I really want to post the class from yesterday. If the school is not giving me any solution, probably I will find my own solution using, I don't know, maybe a WeTransfer link to let you download the whole document or something like this. But well, let's see what happened with a potential solution that the school can deliver to me. Well, first of all, before starting, I would like to know if you already checked the final assignment for this course, for this model. Yeah, have you checked? Yeah. I just take advantage of this moment to remind you that you have obviously the quizzes for each class. You know that they should be finished before the last day of the class. It's the 28th, the last day of the month. And also that happens also with the assignment. The assignment also have this due date, okay, the last day of February. It's not complicated. I think that you can do it, but obviously don't wait for the last moment to do it because uh, it's nice that you can apply little by little all the knowledge that you get from the classes directly to your project of company, to project your project of service or product or whatever you have in mind for this course. Yeah, Julia told me.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have a question about
Yes,
the final assignment. So,
yes,
I just started the master, so I'm not working yet on the final project.
yes.
So I'm gonna use a personal, let's say, slash professional example, but I just want to clarify the expectation. So,
Mhm.
because we have to deliver the paper, I guess, before the last lesson, right? Like the last lesson will be next Friday, which is also the
Yes.
deadline of the paper, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, is the expectation to like write down, of course, the like a description of our project, and
Hmm.
then to describe the techniques that we would use while
Yeah,
we're doing them
yes,
during the course? Like if we can clarify a little bit what are the expectations for everyone. So
yes.
thank
Yes,
you.
yes, right. Yeah, thank you very much for this question. Yeah, for sure. First of all, for the people that maybe you don't have a specific personal project because maybe you started late in the course, or maybe because you're still thinking about what to do, don't worry about that because you can choose another kind of project, maybe a project that you can find around, or you something, a project in the real life, or something that you can imagine quick. But well, normally a real world example is a good option. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing that you were mentioning about what the expectations, about the expectations, well, the expectations are not so high, so don't worry about that. And the idea basically is um, to read, the content that we
Sorry,
are
so can I
working
ask it?
here.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry. Can I ask you a question real quick in between? Because
yes.
I'm not, the thing I don't really understand is how can we implement all the techniques we learn in the course if
Uh-huh.
we haven't already had all the classes from the course?
Yes, 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 yes. Don't worry
Okay.
about that. Yes, yeah. I think that this is the thing. Well, keep in mind two things. The idea is not necessary to apply all the things, because actually the interesting exercise is to apply only the things that are, suitable for your project. If your project has a specific characteristics, obviously you cannot apply all the options. You can apply only the optimal ideas that make your project better, to make your project or make your idea better or more successful. Okay, this is one thing. And the other thing that you mentioned about all the content that is left, because obviously we didn't finish, and the idea is that you can first. you can work little by little. I mean, every time that we are doing a class, you can apply some of the content, and so you don't need to do all the job, all the work at the last day. So that will reduce the pressure for the last day. And the other thing is that the last class, the last content is probably the less, I mean, the content more difficult to apply in the project because the last topic is about ethics, and it's not about techniques and methodology. It's more about ethics and other concepts, abstract concepts. So it's more to debate. So don't worry about the last one, or even the last two pieces of content, because they are not so focused in methodology. But well, don't worry, because I think that the last two pieces of content, the last two presentations, will be less demanding with less content, and they are easy to apply. Even if you don't have enough time to apply it to the project, don't worry, because they don't have these blocks of content. They don't have a lot of applications, direct applications, and make practical applications to your assignment. You mean to your project? I mean, Kirsten, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, it's a very straightforward question. I
Yes.
unfortunately had to miss the class yesterday. When do you think the
Yes.
recording will be there so I can have a look at it this weekend? I was hoping.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
When are you going to upload the recording of yesterday evening? Because I unfortunately had to miss the class yesterday evening and I couldn't
Yes.
see it on Moodle yet. So I was just wondering when it was going to be that. That was it, really.
Yes, yes. Actually, yeah. I don't know if I explained it this properly, but well, yesterday the problem was we got a problem of storage capacity in
Okay.
the cloud. That's the reason why it was impossible to record the last class using the cloud. But I recorded
Mm-hmm.
the class in my computer, so I have the class recorded in my computer,
Yeah.
and we can use it. I mean. But I asked to the coordinator of the course, Maria Jose. I asked her, well, what's the protocol in these cases? How to post
Yeah.
this content? And I didn't receive any answer for now. But well, if today is not giving me any option, I will move on, and I will try by myself to post using maybe my personal account of WeTransfer, because I have a personal account of WeTransfer. Because
Yeah.
if I use the problem is, if I use a free account of WeTransfer, the WeTransfer only stays there for 2 days or something like that. It's so quick. Uh, so I think that I will use my own WeTransfer account. That is a premium one, and
Yeah.
that gives the opportunity of keep the record for 1 year or something like this. So I think I'm gonna do this if I don't receive any kind of answer from you know from Maria Jose. So probably I will use the link, the WeTransfer link, and I will
Yeah.
use the WeTransfer link directly to the Moodle. And you can go to the Moodle normally, but instead
Yeah.
of watching the video in a player, instead of that, you can download the whole document. It's
Brilliant.
it's that
Yeah.
it's inconvenient maybe because you need to download
Oh,
the whole video, but at least you will have the video.
no, that's brilliant because I've got this window now because I'm actually finishing this master's next week. I'm doing my end presentation on Friday. So I'm just trying to I've got this window now and I thought, oh, this weekend I can then watch the classes to make sure I'm all up to speed. So yeah, so that would be great if you would be able to send it. Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry. I will put yeah, for sure. I will go to that option because I really want to post this as soon as
Thank you.
possible. And you can, not only because you need it, also because there are a lot of people that have the habit of watching those videos not live. For example, exists
Yeah.
a student that is in another time zone, and he never
Yeah,
can be
true, true.
here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
probably these kind of students need these videos every time. So it's important to keep this. to keep the content available for everyone. For yes, that's the reason why I will try my best for posting the video probably tonight, because I don't want to wait more time for a official response from the school. Okay, so I will go my own idea. Well, I saw here some messages. Well, don't worry. It's not necessary to send emails for the notes and so on, because the content of the videos, sorry, the content of the presentations are already in the Moodle, and the video is the only thing that you miss now. But this night I
No
gonna
problem.
I gonna
Thank you.
post it. Okay, so don't
Excellent.
worry.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm gonna share with all you the presentation of class number 4. Okay, this class is about, wait, now, perfect. This class, the topic is social influence and behavior of groups. All this time we were talking about emotion, motivation, learning, attention, so many concepts, but only focus in one individual, only focus in the processing of the cognitive processes that implies one individual. Okay, but in this case, we want to put our focus on the social aspect of doing a purchase. When we take a decision, or when we are influenced by other people, because obviously our species, the human species, we are so social. We are an animal, a social animal, and we normally live in collective. So that's the reason why we are constantly surrounded by other people, and obviously this affects is another factor that affects our behavior. Okay, so let's talk about this, that is so important, and I think that could be interesting for you to understand a lot of dynamics, the social dynamics. Okay, well, let's start with vicarious learning. Remember that yesterday we were talking about learning and different kind of learning, but this learning is a learning that we can call it as social, because implies at least two people. Okay, vicarious learning, also named observational learning, is the ability to acquire behaviors, attitudes, or emotional responses by watching others and their consequences. Sorry, because we can learn not only by our own experience, we can learn also watching people, the behavior of them, and the consequence that they suffer when they do something. Okay, studied by Albert Bandura. Okay, with his work about social learning theory. This is it plays a key role, okay, in neuromarketing, especially because we're talking about the consumer decisions, purchasing behaviors, brand perception. Okay, all this is affected by this social factor. Okay, so it's basically is when we learn through the experiences of others. Okay, and we can obviously adapt our behavior after that. Okay, well, how it works. An individual observes a model. Okay, every time that we talk about a model, is the person that is being observed. Okay, so an individual observes a model performing an action and later imitates it. So I see someone doing something, and more likely, depending on the consequences, more likely I can imitate that. Okay, especially if the model is seen as credible, it's super important, attractive, or successful. Okay, direct experience in this case is not needed, because seeing the model's outcomes is enough to understand what is happening, and which things we can learn from that action. Okay, an example of this, for example, a consumer buys a product after seeing an influencer endorsing it. Okay, if we saw someone that is doing a behavior, in this case endorsing it, and this influencer has the credibility, the attractiveness, or he or she is successful, is more likely that I want to imitate that behavior. Okay, exist other kinds of vicarious learning. Do you have any idea of other vicarious learning, obviously related to marketing? Any of you? You have any idea?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is here in the square. If you can mention a sales situation that implies vicarious learning.
I think maybe when an influencer is showing a product or something, and then we as viewers want to buy it too, maybe.
Okay, another one.
Maybe placement in movies?
Okay, product placement in movies. It's interesting example. Yes.
In cool movies,
Okay.
for example, Heineken in James Bond.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
When
A
we see
commercial with
Mhm.
actors or singers were
Mhm.
extremely popular.
Good.
a competition, when we see athletes wearing certain brands.
Okay, good. Others? For example, I'm gonna give you more examples. There's so many there's so many products that requires instructions. For example, when you want to not only showing the product and you want to tell how to use the product. For example, when you are in a convention of different products and there are someone, there is someone explaining the benefits of the product and also is using the product in front of an audience, for example, and doing those actions, that person is explaining and is showing a behavior and the consequences of that behavior. And more likely, after that explanation with movement and instructions, more likely we can imitate and we can replicate that behavior, for example. Yeah, all these examples that you provide are so valid, and I love them. And we're gonna talk more about them in the next slides. Let's see. Well, before that, I want to tell you how it works, the vicarious learning, okay? Exists 4 stages. For sure, as you know, the first one is the attention. If we are not putting our attention on the action, the rest of the stages has no sense, will not be present, okay? Attention. Okay, the observer focuses the model's action. If this not happen, the rest not happen. Influenced by relevance, novelty, and credibility. So if the model is relevant or the action is relevant, we will put our attention on that. If it's novel, if it's something that is new, that will be interesting for us too. Okay, and the credibility of that model, or the credibility, the credibility of the model. So, relevance of the behavior, credibility of the model, novelty of the situation, all these things makes easier to get, to put our attention, to focus our attention on the behavior that we are about to imitate in the future. Retention, the observed information is stored in long-term memory. Obviously, if we want that the person imitates someone, normally we need that person remember or can recall in the future the same behavior. Okay, that involves the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. Then the reproduction. This is so important because when we are talking about vicarious learning, remember the learning in general is something that we can measure or we can detect because the behavior itself. So we can understand that someone learned something if we can see that someone reproduce or that someone imitates the behavior. Otherwise, we will not be sure that that person learned. Okay, do you understand? So in this case, the observer must have the physical and cognitive ability to replicate the behavior. It's important to have that possibility. Okay, here the mirror neurons play a key role. Okay, and fourth, motivation. The likelihood, we can understand the motivation we can understand the motivation as the likelihood of imitation. Okay, that depends on perceived rewards, identification with the model, and the social context. Okay, we will go even deeper in the next slides about all these things. Well, the vicarious learning can be modulated, obviously. Okay, the vicarious learning is something that is not a rock, can be changed depending on different factors. For example, the characteristics of the model. The model, remember, is the person that we are looking at. Okay, so people are more likely to imitate models that they perceive as attractive, successful, or similar to themselves. It's more likely that you imitate someone that looks similar to you. Okay, maybe because ethnicity, the same gender, or the same class, economical class, these kind of things make easier for you to imitate. Okay, emotional context. Positive emotions, for example, enhance imitation, while the negative emotions may inhibit the imitation. That I think that this is obvious, but well, it's something that we need to keep in mind when we are putting a model in front of a person, okay? Because as you can imagine, when we want to modify or we want to emphasize the vicarious learning, probably we can do that because we are in charge or we have some kind of control putting models in front of our potential audience, okay? Social reinforcement. Okay, observing a model, receiving a reward. A reward could be an intangible one, could be praising, recognition, people clapping around, this kind of thing, or could be likes, likes in a social media account, for example. This is also a reward somehow. Okay, this kind of social rewards, okay, increases motivation to imitate. If you see someone that is being appreciated, acknowledged for this kind of behavior, it's more likely that you're gonna repeat the same behavior in order, obviously, to receive somehow the same kind of reinforcement. Okay, culture and social norms. What it means? Well, cultural norms shape which behaviors are considered acceptable or desirable to imitate. If you see someone, if you are watching to someone that is doing something, even though you can be attracted by that behavior, you can be somehow interested in imitating that, exists obviously a layer of social norms that are activated, and this layer is active all the time, and that means that that will be difficult to replicate that behavior because exists that norm that somehow will inhibit the behavior of imitation. I saw someone that wrote in the chat. Let me check. Is having a good feeling or feeling good counted as a reward? Well, yes, having a good feeling for oneself is a reward. But in this case that we're talking about vicarious learning, we need to see that person is feeling good because in this case, in this specific class, we were talking always about the social experience. When we see others having that reward. If that feeling good is visible and you can perceive it, yeah, you can understand that that person is being rewarded somehow. Yes, we can say that. If we can say that person feels satisfied and realize it when themselves and so on, yeah, we can consider that this person is being rewarded and probably reinforce it, and we will chase for the same kind of feeling. Yeah, it's good. Always, if this is visible. If it's not visible, it's not working. Okay? Well, let's move to the next slide. Let's talk about the neuroanatomy of the vicarious learning. As you can see, all the regions that I'm talking about are mentioned before, okay? Because obviously, a region of our brain is normally they are specialized in specific activities, but these specific activities are not so specific. They are not, is a region of the brain is not only involved in one activity, it's involved in activities in a general way. For example, prefrontal cortex is involved in planning and decision making and behavior imitation. So prefrontal cortex is used in so many things. In this case, prefrontal cortex has also a role, okay? A role, well, more than one role in this vicarious learning processing. Okay, so yeah, prefrontal cortex is one of our old friends that appears here and there because it's a structure that is involved in so many cognitive processing. Okay, in this case, also is present. The posterior parietal cortex, well, remember that this part of the brain normally integrates sensory and motor information that enables the mental simulation of the observed actions. If we are watching someone doing something, the posterior parietal cortex led us to generate a mental image of all those movements, okay? And we can simulate the different outcomes in our brain, and we can imagine the actions themselves. So yes, this part of the brain normally is so how to say, so activated because it's constantly receiving inputs from everywhere, and is all those inputs are gathered to create this simulation, to create this idea about the actions, the outcomes, and so on. Okay, it's creating, like uh, yeah, simulation. I don't know how to say with other words, but well, that's the idea. Mirror neuron system. This is not a specific region of our brain. It's a system, okay, that is composed by this kind of neurons. These kind of neurons are called mirror neurons. Why? Because this fancy, sexy name of mirror neurons actually is because those neurons are activated in a similar pattern of the activation that is happening when the activity, the real activity, the actual activity is occurring. So what happened in this case are brain neurons, okay? Brain neurons normally located in the premotor cortex and in inferior parietal lobe, and they are activated when we are watching an activity, or we are watching movement, we are watching any kind of action, okay? And without doing the action by ourselves, even though despite that we are not doing the action, these kind of neurons, the mirror neurons, are activated in a similar pattern, okay, than the actual activity of the neurons in case that we are doing the action. It's like a draft somehow. It's like a draft of activity. For example, imagine that you are typing on your computer, okay? And you're using your fingers, and your premotor cortex is activated, okay? The idea of this is if you see someone typing in their computer, even though you are not doing that, your premotor cortex has an activity pattern similar, not the same one for sure, but similar to the activity that person that is actually typing has. Do you understand this? Yeah? Okay. The amygdala in this case, as you know, is about the process of emotions linked to the observed actions. Okay, so that influence about the motivation for imitation later. Okay, or avoid behaviors. If you have the negative feeling, a negative emotion about a specific movement, of a specific behavior that you are observing, obviously you want to try to avoid to do that. Okay, so we are not only talking about imitation, we also talk about the to avoid, because learning could be in both directions. You can learn to do something, or you can learn to do not something. Okay. Well, hippocampus in this case, again, is to support the memory consolidation, because we can observe the behaviors and we can store and recall those behaviors and those ideas, those associations for later. Okay. Do you have any question?
Hi. Can
Yeah.
you give us more examples about the second one? I didn't really understand that.
The second one? What do you mean, the second one?
The second one on the
This.
presentation. Yeah, this one.
Well, yes, exactly. This the posterior parietal cortex, okay, is in the parietal lobes, and basically is this part of the brain is really interesting because is connecting so many other regions of the brain. Taking consideration that the parietal lobe, lobe normally is the sensory motor, motor, no, sorry, I'm mixing, sorry, sensory cortex. Okay, so it's getting information from our body mainly. Okay, the sensation from our body, the skin, the other senses. Okay, and it's integrating all this information. So in this image is difficult to do it, but the idea is, well, let me use the yes, let me use this pencil, this digital pencil. This is the parietal lobe. Okay, this is the occipital. Okay, this is the lateral. This is the frontal. Okay, mainly I'm not so good. Okay, but this is the idea. Normally there is a line. Okay, there is a line that you can see actually, because there is an actual bridge. Okay, and the part of the front is normally related with motor. Okay, with motor and activity, motor activity, movement and so on, this part. Okay, this is the M1 because motor, M1. This is the M2 and so on. And here exists another one, that is the S1, the S2. Okay, I don't remember if exists S3. Well, I don't remember now, but well, exist different levels of the somatosensory primary, that is the one, the somatosensory secondary, that is the second. Okay, this part of the brain, especially the primary one, is receiving the information, for example, from different parts of your body. Okay, with different proportions. For example, in the case of your lips, for example, your lips are so sensitive. Your lips and the lips of everyone, not only yours. The lips of everyone are so sensitive. Why are so sensitive your lips? Because not only because you have a lot of receptors, also because your brain is prepared for receiving all that information and processing with so many neurons. Exists a huge part of this brain that are where the neurons are specialized on the sensitivity of the lips, and another part for the legs, and another part for the toes, and another part for the head, and you can somehow draw a little version of your body, because different parts of this region has the a connection, a direct connection with the sensory information that arrives from different parts of your body. This is the primary one, because the information arrives mostly raw, but then the information is moving to other parts, from the S1 to S2. Okay, so in S2, the information is integrating with other inputs. So other parts of our brain are sending the information to this. Wait, I'm gonna use another color because I'm doing a mess. This part, green, okay? This part is integrating information from different regions of our brain, okay? What it means? Well, that means that it's integrating, for example, information of your body, but also it's integrating information from or of this from occipital lobe, where what we can find in occipital lobe exists a bridge here that we can find the B1. What is the B1? B is for vision. Vision 1, okay? In this part of the brain, there's the vision 1. Exists one kind of blindness that is a cerebral or brain blindness, okay? Blindness is when we have a damage here. Maybe your eyes are fully good, your eyes are so functional, but you are blind because you have a damage in this area of your brain. There are a lot of people that after maybe a car accident or maybe other kind of trauma, they are blind not because their eyes are bad. Actually, their eyes are so good, but this part of the brain is affected, is badly affected. Okay, but well, I'm going again. I'm climbing branches again. The idea is this part of the brain is especially complex because it's receiving different inputs from everywhere. And one of them is the S1, and the S1 and the S2. So yeah, the parietal globe is mainly this one, this part, okay? And this is a region of integration. Integration of different circuits that are close to this region. So that's the reason why we are connecting information from the lateral globe, the vision, the sensory motor, and for example, auditive information that comes from here, that the auditive, I need more colors. The auditive region that is here, more or less. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it's in that part because it's you need to actually the auditive the auditive cortex. You need to use tools to get into that. You need to separate the tissues to find it properly. Well, that's the idea. So it's difficult to say, oh, this region is only used for this. It's so difficult because this region is getting that amount of information from different parts that we say that this part is, the a easy way to describe this part is as a integration zone, integration region. Okay, and that's the reason why we can understand this part of the brain simulates and creates a simulation image, a fictional image in our brain, because you need all those inputs to do that. You need all those inputs those inputs to create that image on your brain. To specify a pattern of activity that makes you able to understand the information using different channels. The auditive one, the sensor one, the audio, like different elements for creating a whole image, you know? I think that it's complex, obviously, and this part of the brain is especially complex because of that, because it's a combination of so many things. Okay? Well, let me move to the next slide. Well, let's talk about the mirror neurons. Probably you know about the mirror neurons a little because I mentioned that in the last model that we made. But well, I'm gonna just explain a little more about this because I think this is important. The mirror neurons are brain cells, okay, that activate both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing the same action. This is the easiest description of the mirror neurons, what they are. Okay, they were discovered so recently in the 90s. Okay, by this neuroscientist, the Giacomo Risolati. These neurons are essential for understanding imitation, empathy. Remember empathy when we were talking about empathy, when we were talking about this concept in the last module. Mirror neurons are also implied in empathy. Social learning, it's the thing that we are talking now, and neuromarketing, of course, because we live in a social environment. Okay. others' behavior influence our decisions. Okay, that's the idea, because we can activate our own mirror neurons, not only doing actions, also watching the actions of others. Okay, when you watch someone perform an action, your mirror neurons fire as if you were doing it yourself. Okay, this creates an internal simulation that helps you to understand and often replicate the action. Okay, you are not replicating all the actions that you see, but it's more likely that you replicate something if you can see that something. Okay, this mechanism underlies observational learning and empathy. I saw one hand raise it. Tell me.
Yeah, it's just me. I just have a question about the mirror neurons that I've been thinking about for a little while. So if you've got two people, right? One of them is very positive and is radiating a lot of positive. The other person is in a miserable mood. What's going to
Yes, yes. Well, it's interesting actually, because now in this case we're talking about emotions, not only about actions. In the case of mirror neurons, as I mentioned before, they are located in the motor part. Okay, they are located. Wait, let me go to backwards. Here, the mirror neuron system are located in the premotor cortex and inferior parietal lobe. Okay, so the you are mentioning, you are describing an emotional experience, an emotional mood and so on. So in this case, yes, you can activate your brain mirror neurons, but only in case that you can see actions, that you can see somehow this somehow of movement, somehow of behavior. Okay, so if you see someone, for example, shouting, because I don't know, because that person is angry and is shouting and so on, this kind of activity, this kind of behavior, you can somehow feel it and simulate in your brain. Okay, and you feel, because the empathy and because this activity, this simulation of activity in your brain, you can feel somehow the same thing that that person is experiencing. Okay, so yes, this could be one of the reasons, because when you see someone that is passing through a bad moment, if you have a high levels of empathy, you can feel the same experience, and you can be affected by the feelings of another person. The feelings themselves are not uh, sending vibes that affects you. Actually, you see the behavior of that person, and that behavior is affecting you. But it's not the negativity uh, send waves of energy. It's not about that. It's not about that. I know that exists a lot of books that talks about this kind of ideas, but the real the biological reason of that is because our neurons are prepared to being activated in a certain using a certain patterns every time that we see other people doing a specific activity. And then when our brain is somehow imitating that activity, we can generate, because obviously our brain has different regions that they are interconnected, we can generate a simulation of those feelings. Okay, and this simulation of the feelings could affect our amygdala, could affect our perception of the world, could affect our mood, obviously, finally could affect our mood. But it's not the mood of the other person, it's the activity of the other person. It's the motor activity of the other person. Maybe the person is shouting, maybe the person is crying, maybe the person is is I don't know, or maybe she's laughing. For example, the laugh is something so contagious. It's contagious because this kind of reasons. Okay, I saw also another person. Tell me, another person raising the hand.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, tell me.
I was wondering, since sometimes in a room full of people, one person is more affected by the bad activity or negative activity
Hmm.
by someone else
Hmm.
than another person. How is
Yeah.
it? Is that because of different experiences in the past, or is it
Yes.
based on how our brain is regulated, or maybe someone
Yes.
feels less
Yes.
is less empathic, or how?
No, no, no. You did it. You mentioned something about the past experience. And when we talk about past experience, we can use different nouns for the same thing. Past experience, education, cultural background, different
Yeah,
things that are reshaping your brain when you are a kid, when you are a teenager. These kind of moments. For example, we have neuroplasticity. That is a topic that we were mentioning in the next class.
yeah,
Neuroplasticity is our capacity to reshape our brain. Okay, our brain,
yeah.
we have a lot of brain cells, as you know,
Hmm.
millions of them, but our brain has not the capacity of generating a lot of new neurons. Okay, exist different parts of our brain that actually have the capacity of creating new neurons. For example, the hippocampus or the olfactory primary region, for example.
Hmm.
Only these parts of the brain. But the rest of the brain, normally, they are not generating new cells. But despite of that, we can readapt and we can change the morphology of our brain depending on so many things. One of them are our past experience, our learning processes, our experience with our world. So
Yeah,
if, for example, in your day by day at your home, your parents, when you were a child, your parents uh, teach you or train you to be more empathetic, your brain is reshaped in the way that for you will be easier to be sensitive to specific situations. And another people, maybe because cultural context, different kind of parenting skills,
yeah,
different partners in their life, different colleagues in the school, so many options, so many past experience. Maybe
yeah,
they are less prone to be empathetic or being
yeah.
sensitive to other.
But
Yeah, tell
but
me.
it's just so it's not proven scientifically that there's differences in brain areas within the normal range of people, like excluding psychopaths and that kind of people, of course. But
Well,
like you and me, we could have we are born with the same. There couldn't be like a bigger amygdala, or I don't know what I'm saying, but like, is it based purely on experiencing
uh,
experiences and cultures? And because I feel like, because well, I'm a twin, and
okay.
me and my sister had the same. We grew up the same, but I'm completely differently emotional than she is.
uh,
So
okay.
how is that possible then? Isn't Yeah.
Well, you are twin. I mean, exist different kind of twin. You're twin twin.
No, we have different eggs. That's
Different
I
next.
don't
Yeah,
know how you say it
exactly.
in English,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Good job. Yes, I think that's
yeah.
the term. That's the term. Exactly. Different next. Well,
Hmm.
that this is important, for example, because your genetic in comparison to your sister is
Yeah.
not the same. It's not the same. It's not
Okay.
exact. It's not exactly the same. So that's important. But in this case, when we are talking about the processing of emotions. I think, in my opinion, that exists a important weight of the education and your experiences. Even though you are living under the same ceiling and
Hmm.
in your home with your parents, probably you will rise up uh, being so similar to your siblings, okay?
Yeah.
But exists individual differences that comes from different places. Even some of these differences could come from your way that you process the same things. I mean, for example, if you and your sibling you have a trauma, I don't know, maybe you have a trauma in the school because some of your one of your one of your professors, I don't know, have a accident and dies, and this is so traumatic for everyone. But how you process this in your, your internal thoughts, all the time that you spend thinking about it, how the interactions with other people that teach to you, how to deal with that moment, all these the inputs makes you learn. And learning, as you know, because I mentioned that yesterday, I'm talking about this now. Learning implies a new shape of the circuits of our brain. When we are talking about learning, you need to imagine that the brain is actually moving. I mean, the brain cells, are changing their shape, are changing their connection with another. I mean, exist so many people that say, yeah, the brain is like a computer, and so no, 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 no. The brain is not as a computer. It's impossible to work as a computer because a computer is using a mathematical way to work. It's using zeros, ones, and normally the computers are composed by elements that are so fixed, are so uh, difficult to change. They are normally metal and plastic and these kind of things. But our brain, you need to understand that our brain as a huge amount of different cells that are interconnected in a specific way, but this specific way could change so easy depending on so many things. Could be chemical reasons, could be specific patterns of activity that makes this circuit be stronger or weaker than before. Could be that one neuron, instead of just activating another neuron, start activating two or three at the same time. So all these differences makes the learning, okay? Makes the idea of thinking about something before and thinking in another way in another time, okay? And we are talking about thinking, but we are talking about autonomous responses. We can talking about processing of emotions. We can talking about learning in conscious way and also in unconscious way, okay? Because our cells are in constant movement. When our brain is more flexible, well, when we are kids, especially the first years, and when we are teenagers, okay? Well, I hope that you
Sorry,
that
my
you
roommate entered.
no, don't worry.
But yeah, that's clear to me. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Very
thank
clear.
you. Any other question that you want to talk? No? Okay, I think this is already done. Perfect. Let's talk about the mirror neurons again. Exist several neurotransmitters that influence the mirror neural activity. One of them is the dopamine. I think that you know the dopamine is an old friend in this course. Okay, dopamine drives the motivation and reward. Okay, reinforcing observed behaviors. That's the reason why it's implied in this processing. Okay, serotonin regulates the mood and social engagement, and oxytocin enhance the trust and emotional connection. Why is important? Because obviously, if exists a trust with a feeling of trust with the model, okay, that facilitates the empathy and also facilitates the imitation. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Well, vicarious learning and mirror neurons in the consumer behavior. How to put all these concepts together. Vicarious learning, driven by mirror neurons, occurs when we learn by observing others. This is clear at this point. This mechanism influence consumer behavior by shaping purchase decisions, technology adoption, and brain loyalty. Okay, technology adoption is when, for example, we start using an app, or we start using a computer, or we start using a phone, okay, because we see other people using that technology, okay? So it's important, and I'm talking about technologies that are so so easy to recognize. But when I'm talking about technology, I'm talking also about tools, to how to use a hammer, how to use a screwdriver, how to use this kind of thing. Also, this is the adoption of technology somehow, okay? Consumers tend to imitate the choices of those they admire, okay? Such as influencers or peers, okay? Especially when they see positive outcomes. As you know, it's easier to replicate something if we can see positive outcomes of that behavior that we are watching, okay? Neuromarketing applications. Influencer marketing, for example, that is clear. Seeing someone use a product activates mirror neurons, fostering identification and motivation to buy. Okay? Emotional advertising, ads featuring authentic emotions, trigger empathy, strengthening brand connection. Okay, if we see again someone that is happy in an ad, okay, and we can see that happiness visually because the behavior and so on, it's easier to do that connection with that person, okay, and that situation. In store demonstrations, that's something I mentioned before. When we are watching others interact with the product, that increases the likelihood of trying the product and finally purchasing that product. Okay. Testimonials and reviews, consumer stories enhance trust and reinforce buying decisions. Okay. Well, this is an activity time that is easier to do this in a class. Basically, consists in folding a paper and check how the mirror neurons could work. But well, it's a silly thing. Don't worry about that. The impact of reviews, opinions, and testimonials. Obviously, you know because you live in this world that exist so many platforms that use the reviews, the opinions, and testimonials constantly. Okay, especially the reviews. The reviews is a tool that marketing use so often, and I'm gonna tell you all the reasons why and how we can use them in our favor. Okay, obviously the reviews could be a problem if they are negative. Okay, so we need to be so aware of that, and we need to be cautious because we can fall in a problem if we are not able to manage the reputation, yeah, with the reviews. Okay, let's talk about the positive reviews. The positive reviews increase the trust and credibility. 94% of the consumers trust businesses with positive reviews. Okay, normally this kind of positive reviews generates that feeling of trust. Okay, activate the reward system, okay, releasing dopamine, which enhance purchase intention. How? When we read a positive review, okay, we are satisfied because we can somehow empathize with that person, and we feel happy. Okay, we feel happy for that outcome. Okay, we know that that person achieved a reward. Okay, somehow this person has been reinforced, and for us it's satisfying, and the dopamine is released on us. So for us is it makes us feel happy. Okay, it makes us feel good with ourselves, and this enhance the purchase intention. Okay, strengthen brand preference, okay, by creating positive emotional associations. Obviously, if people are happy, if people are satisfied with the product, we create that association between happiness and the product, or happiness with the service, or whatever. Okay. Negative reviews, in the other hand, what happened? Trigger risk assessment areas, amygdala, insula, okay, leading to a avoidance behavior. If we are reading a review that is negative, probably our first reaction will be, oof, this is risky. This option is not comfortable. I prefer to avoid that. I prefer to go to another place. Or maybe I start to hesitate to take the action. I start hesitating to buy that product, or maybe I think I need to read more. I need to know more for being for being more sure for being for doing an a clear option, a clear decision, for being totally informed about the product. So that the negative reviews, if they are not removing the purchase, at least they can inhibit or make the purchase later, make the people think more about to take the action, the final action, and they will maybe buy, but in the future. So that is obviously is a lost opportunity. Okay, decrease the consumer trust and purchase likelihood, as you can imagine, and generate negative emotional responses. Okay, reducing engagement with the brand. Any question? No. Okay. Neural mechanism behind the consumer influence. Okay, mirror neurons and empathy. It's something that we were mentioned before. Consumers mentally simulate experience described in testimonials, for example, when someone is explaining about how they enjoy that product. Okay, you are mentally simulating that situation in your mind. Okay, emotional connection. Okay, increases influence on decision making. Reward processing, well, positive reviews activate the dopaminergic system, reinforcing attraction, creates a sense of anticipated pleasure from the product or service. We can imagine ourselves being satisfied by that product, so that creates a feeling of anticipation. Okay. Risk evaluation and avoidance. Negative reviews activate threat processing areas like amygdala, okay? And consumers develop hesitation and aversion towards the brand. That's the same thing that I was telling you before. Conclusion, reviews significantly shape consumer decisions by influencing key neural processes, okay? Managing online reputation, that is something I mentioned before, okay? The reputation in online environments, okay, is crucial for brands, okay, to enhance the trust and engagement. How we can manage the online reputation? Well, we can see later, but basically you can see in so many examples in your day by day that there are people in charge of answering to the bad reviews and trying to somehow clean and balance the bad reputation, trying to balance the proportion of negative reviews in order to improve the image of that brand or that product or whatever. Okay, let's move. How positive reviews activates the dopaminergic system? Well, processing the review, the prefrontal cortex. Remember, the prefrontal cortex is the part normally associated with so many activities, but one of them is to evaluate the things, to judge the options or to judge the situations in front of us. Okay, so with the prefrontal cortex, we are evaluating the review itself, and we are evaluating the credibility of the review, the relevance of the review. Okay, when you are reading, for example, a review for a product, your brain is automatically judging if that review is credible enough to you. Maybe you are trying to understand, you are trying to figure out if this review has been made by a person or by a bot, or you're trying to know if that person is too angry for being reasonable, or maybe that person is a person that could be a person with criteria, a person that have a real well-built opinion about that product. You are constantly doing this kind of evaluation when you're reading something, especially in the orbitofrontal and ventromedial cortex. Those areas are responsible for decision making and the subjective evaluation. Okay, that's the reason why this part of the brain is constantly activated when we are reading this kind of comments. Okay, activation of the reward system. A positive experience in the reviews, okay, triggers the nucleus accumbens. Remember, nucleus accumbens is the part related, is the part of the brain is related with the reward system, okay, and this is the key of the processing of the reward. Okay, dopamine release, because we are reading this positive experience, okay? And this reinforces the expectation of a positive experience that you can have in the future if you buy this product, okay? So the dopamine is like, okay, you receive a portion of dopamine in that specific moment, okay? And you want to repeat this dose of dopamine in the future, okay? Probably the best way to get this new shot of dopamine is buying the product and experiencing the product by yourself, okay? That's the idea, okay? Mainly the idea that how the reviews can affect us, okay? A stronger purchase intention. Dopamine increases motivation and desire, making the consumer more likely to buy. Mirror neurons and emotional connection. Let's see. If the review describes emotions, okay, for example, I was so happy with this product, or this product makes me feel annoyed, or these kind of things, okay, the mirrors neurons activate because the person is describing something, is describing maybe an action, or maybe describing maybe, these kind of things, creating empathy and trust, further reinforcing purchase decisions. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Negative reviews, what happened with them? Well, again, processes review with the prefrontal cortex. We analyze the review, okay, and we are assessing potential risk. We are thinking about, okay, this thing is have cons, not only pros. So that's the reason why I need to be aware, okay, need to be cautious. Well, activation of amygdala and insula, the negative experience in the review triggers the amygdala, which processes threats and fear, okay? The insula involved in disgust and pain perception also reinforce the aversion, okay? A stress response and emotional impact. The amygdala signals a stress response, okay? If the amygdala is activated, we have a stress response. This increases cortisol levels and hastening caution. You are, you are aware, you are alert about what is happening with this product, okay? Avoidance and decision making. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex integrates this negative information that comes from the amygdala, for example, leading to avoidance behavior and rejection to product. You decide consciously to discard this product from your radar. You decide to, okay, this product is not good enough for me because you are integrating information that comes from the amygdala and also the evaluation that you do about risk with your prefrontal cortex. So finally, you decide with the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, you decide to say, okay, I'm not going in that path. Okay. Social contagion effect. Mirror neurons enhance emotional resonance, okay, making others more likely to share the negative perception, amplifying the product's bad reputation, okay. Yes, exists this problem with the negative reviews, okay. Exists this somehow if you see how to say, yeah, the if you see other people having bad experiences with that, that makes you feel obviously it makes you feel also bad. And if you your perception towards the product will be even worse. And if you are also a user of the product, it's more likely that you will also put another negative review. That is one of the reasons of exist that propensity for putting a lot of bad reviews. It's easier to find bad reviews than good ones sometimes because people are feeding each other with bad this kind of bad reviews. Okay. Impact of positive versus negative reviews. Negative reviews have a stronger impact than positive ones. Okay, that is something that happened. I mean, it's not the same a negative one than the positive ones because somehow the negative review weight more. Okay, and one negative review can deter about 30 potential customers. Okay, 86% of the customers avoid a purchase due to negative reviews. No exact ratio exists. I mean, doesn't exist a ratio, okay, like one negative reviews it has the same impact of 50 good ones. It's not like this. Also depends on the perception of the consumer, okay? But mostly, so many times negative feedback weighs more, way more, okay? In consumer perception. Companies should actively manage and respond to negative reviews to minimize damage and maintain reputation. Okay, for example, in Amazon, it's not common. But for example, if you use Apple, for example, Apple the iPhone, you use iPhone, for example, and you are checking an app. You are about to get an app or to buy a new app, and you check the reviews. If exists negative reviews, normally people in charge, the developers of that app, are so active trying to respond to the negative reviews for two reasons, mainly because they are interested in solving the problems of the people, but also because they want to somehow to eclipse the negative review with the proactive, the proactive post-sale service, a good post-sale service, trying to say, oh, I'm so sorry that you had a bad experience, but don't worry, we will try to help you. Just send an email here. We will do our best for helping you. This is so common. For example, I saw this so many times in the reviews of apps in Apple Store, for example. That's so common. Well, this is an activity time that we cannot do here. I'm so sorry that most of the activity times has a format that is easier to apply in the class, in the real world class. Well, we have time. Perfect. I know that you know this concept is so famous. This concept, the FOMO, fear of missing out, okay, is so common to talk about this, especially in neuromarketing. Is a nice tool to use. Obviously, it's a dangerous tool because using anxiety, normally anxiety is a bad feeling, but using the anxiety is something dangerous because to use negative emotions could be dangerous if we are not doing properly. But well, it's a powerful tool when we are trying to move people to do something. Okay, what is for the people that were living under a rock? Well, fear of missing out is an anxiety of missing valuable experiences, opportunities, or trends that others are enjoying. Okay, in consumer behavior, it drives urgency to purchase products or participate in events before they disappear. Let's talk about different examples to understand this concept better. For example, limited time sales and exclusive editions. For example, imagine that Nike's special releases, Apple product drops, or something that is happening just for a short time, or these kind of things that are so exclusive. This creates this feeling, of urgency that makes you feel that you are about to miss something, and that feeling is negative, and you try to avoid that feeling. So that's the reason why you don't want to be out of the conversation, and you try to be, to belong in the group of people that were privileged by having that thing, or experiencing that thing. Okay, scarcity based advertising is when you, as a marketer, I mean, you try to create the idea of a scarcity. Could be a real scarcity or could be a fake scarcity. Okay, you can do it, just creating a batch of product so short, okay? And you can say, okay, sorry, we only have a little of these products, okay? We don't have just we have just a little amount of things, and that's the reason why it's about to finish, and you need to buy it as soon as possible because only a few left, okay? Or maybe exists the idea of fake scarcity, okay? For example, with digital content, the digital content has no sense of scarcity, but you can generate a fake scarcity. You can say that, oh, there's just a little of them, and come on, it's just a digital product. You can repeat that digital product over and over and over again, but you generate just some kind of scarcity with something that is impossible to run out. It's impossible. Okay. Social media and peer influence. Seeing influencers enjoying a product increase the desire. Okay, this is one of the FOMO phenomena that is more related with social perspective, is when we see other people engaging with a product, okay, normally enjoying the product, and they are happy and they are experiencing that product so many times, and you can see them and you want to be one of them. Okay, that's how FOMO and social interaction are more connected. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the neurological basis of FOMO. Okay, I don't want to specify every single thing here because I think that you can understand by your own, and there's a lot of text actually. But well, the neurological basis of FOMO are the following: the reward system and dopamine, okay, that implies the nucleus accumbens and the ventral tegmental area, that you can imagine this. Orbital frontal cortex, okay, that remember the frontal cortex normally evaluates the things that we have in front of us. So we are evaluating future rewards, okay, with this part. So this combination of these regions normally are related with the reward system. Reward system is one of the key components for FOMO, okay? Prefrontal cortex and cognitive control, okay? Dorsolateral prefrontal cortex regulates impulse control, okay? But weakens under emotional pressure. When we have the emotional pressure, this part of our brain, okay, cannot regulate our impulse, okay? And that's the reason why we fall on the impulse and we finally take action, an action that probably in another context will be inhibited by this part of our brain. Anterior cingulate cortex detects conflict between rational thinking and emotional impulse when deciding whether to buy or wait. Okay, so this is one of the parts of our brain that is implied in this dilemma of going and buying the product or not. Okay. Amygdala and stress response. Well, remember that the FOMO is normally related with emotion, so the amygdala is important. The amygdala processes the fear and the anxiety that we were talking about negative. We are talking about negative emotions, okay, and that creates the urgency in response, okay. Like for example, these kind of phrases: offers end soon. This triggers our response, and that leads to take action as soon as possible, okay. Stress hormones. Well, as you know, the cortisol and norepinephrine, okay, they are related with stress. So that's the reason why I put here these two, because obviously if we are feeling stress for the FOMO, because the FOMO, those hormones are taking place in this process. Okay, any question? No? Best strategies to trigger FOMO, because that's the thing that you really want to hear. How we can use the FOMO in our favor? Well, again, the scarcity and urgency. We need to use this strategy for to trigger FOMO in our audience. Use limited time offers, like only 24 hours left. That is so common when, for example, nowadays when you enter in a website, or clothing website, like e-commerce, and they say that maybe your discount is about to finish, okay? Or maybe when you are checking a specific piece of clothes and they say there are only three. For example, he show low stock indicators, the only three left in stock. They are saying, okay, there are only three. If you wait for longer, maybe you will be out. You will not get anything. Okay. Social proof and exclusivity. Highlight what offers are buying. Okay. I sorry, others are buying. For example, so common. The first movie in United States for 3 weeks in a row. That is the 10,000 people buy this. You are trying to increase the perception of credibility and the perception of quality of that product using the idea that other people use that. So again, this is a social thing. You want to be one of those people that they enjoy the product. You don't want to be the only person that is out of the conversation. So that's the reason why they are using this kind of thing. Talking about huge numbers of people, talking about that product have been super good ranked in a rank. So these kind of things. Okay, leverage influencer marketing and these testimonials. Remember that how to use influencers and how to use the testimonials and reviews to trigger the FOMO. Okay. Real-time triggers, for example, implementing countdown timers on websites. That is so common every time more and more. You enter in a website, there exists a timer that say that maybe your 50% discount is about to finish, is about to go out. Also, for example, maybe not with a countdown, but exists, for example, in Amazon, they use a strategy that they when you are about to buy, when you finally are in front of your cart, and they put a notification that say, if you buy this product before 3 hours, this product will arrive at your home that day. Otherwise, if you are not buying now the product, you will wait for the product. So you will have some kind of punishment for not buying as soon as possible. Okay, so exist outcomes that they tell you that you can suffer if you are not doing whatever they want that you do. Okay, and this kind of triggers is how they create the FOMO, this urgency, this anxiety for buying. Okay. Also to send push notifications about limited deals, okay? And also we can use strategies based on personalization, okay? And loss aversion. Let's talk, for example, remind users of abandoned carts, okay? You are saying, don't miss out your items because maybe you are distracted in the website, or you abandon the website, and they make a reminder saying, "Hey, you have this on the card. Please don't abandon the card there." Okay, and offer exclusive deals to loyal customers and reinforcing VIP status. Okay, so generating that feeling of belonging to something, or that feeling of being acknowledged as a good customer, and make you feel that you are special, and you cannot you know ignore this kind of treatment that you're receiving. You cannot be out of that, and you prefer to participate and keep purchasing, because you are part of this show, no? You are part of this moment, a special moment of purchasing. You are being treated so well, so like a loyal customer or like a VIP, like a premium customer, and so on. Well, social decision making. Let me check if okay. No, no. Okay. Let me check the time. Okay, we are good. Do you have any questions at this point?
Mm,
No?
I don't have a question, but I have like to report a case, let's say, that maybe
Okay.
help me understand a little bit. So if we talk about Booking.com or Airbnb, they are big
Mm-hmm.
brands and they all use all those techniques that you just described to us, the
Yes.
FOMO. But I find it interesting how if you go and check the reviews, because we talked about positive and negative reviews and the
Mm-hmm.
effect on a purchase decision, they have terrible reviews in Trustpilot or yeah, Trustpilot, I believe. They have like 1,
Mm-hmm.
1.5, 1 star,
Mm-hmm.
but people keep purchasing. So I was like researching and I was checking when you Google Airbnb or Booking.com, you don't find the reviews until you are at the seventh page or something like this. So obviously they focus their marketing strategy and their Google research strategy on other things. But what I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
ask here is uh, like, how can someone with a business recover from bad reviews? That's the first question. And second is, what would you say that Airbnb and Booking.com are doing despite the reviews that is actually making them successful using those techniques?
Good question. I think, in my opinion, because obviously it's an opinion, but I think in this case there are two factors. The first factor is familiarity. I mean, for people in general, it's so difficult. It's for them it's so difficult to change something that they already know. For example, you are talking about two super big brands that everyone knows, even people that never try those products. For example, Airbnb. I use Airbnb, but I know people that never use Airbnb, but they know that exists Airbnb. It's a product that is so familiar. Everyone knows Airbnb and everyone knows Booking and this kind of products. So when you try something, even though this product is not perfect, but at least you know this product and you feel familiar with this product, for you is less demanding and is less problematic and frictional to keep using the product because you already know. This is one of the reasons, one of the two factors that could be important in this question. The other thing is this kind of brands have the opportunity because they have tons of money and they have super aggressive strategies of communication. They have the opportunity of being present everywhere. What I want to try to say, for example, Airbnb have the opportunity of sending messages to the audience through commercials, through web presence in different places. And so for the audience, for the final audience, the perception is that doesn't exist anything outside. Doesn't exist anything better than Airbnb because Airbnb, the presence of Airbnb is that high, is that good, or wait, not that good, is that spread, that presence is that important that for people it's difficult to understand that exist alternatives. It's like, okay, just by repetition, it's something that we mentioned yesterday, no? The repetition, how to teach something. Because to teach something, again, is not only to teach something in academical way. Okay, to teach something is something that is constantly happening. Okay, you are learning 24 hours day. You are learning constantly, and all the messages around you and all the situations are around you, even the objects around you are teaching you things through experience, through overexposing and repeated exposing some messages. So if you see the brand and you see the colors, the brand, the commercials, the experience of others, you can see this brand so present in your life, and somehow you are in a cage. in a cage created by them. You are in a cage, and you can, for you it's difficult, or it's more, requires more effort to think outside this box, outside of this cage, because they are repeating constantly that they are the best option for going out and take a plane. They are the best option for buying, or well, for going out, and not using a hotel. You prefer, if you want to be in an apartment, a nice apartment, you can use Airbnb. Exist different options. Of course, exist different options. Booking is not the only one. It's not a monopoly. It's a monopoly in terms of perception. In terms of perception, is a monopoly, because the feeling of the people is the best one, or the most important one is one of them is Booking, or Airbnb. You barely can imagine exist different options. The share market is totally unbalanced, and they work so hard for generating the idea that they are the only one, and the most popular one. Obviously, they do so many things good. Obviously, they have models of business that works, and they are not bad companies in general. I mean, yeah, they are doing good job. But the reason why, even though they have bad bad reviews, they are still being there, because they created that familiarity, and also they repeat the message constantly. For example, that is something that happened, for example, with Coca-Cola. Why Coca-Cola? Well, Coca-Cola, at least in Europe, Coca-Cola is perceived as the most important, soda drink, and in Europe. No, why exist so many options? Exist so many options apart from Coca-Cola. But why Coca-Cola is the most important one? Is not the best of the best in terms of quality. Actually, probably is unhealthy, is not good, is a product that in normal conditions you're gonna try to avoid. But Coca-Cola is perceived as the most important one, because they never fail doing commercials. They constantly doing commercials, and they are not changing the formula. They are not showing you new products. They don't need to tell you that the product is good, because they know that the product is not good. They know that this just sugarish water with colorants. They know that product is just a drink, but they are constantly there doing commercials. They have presence, and this presence generates the familiarity, generates the perception that this product will be there for years and years and years, and this familiarity make people feel safe, and they say, okay, it's Coca-Cola. It's like, it's like family. It's like something that I will use again and again and again and again. Unless they do something so wrong, your perception of the Coca-Cola is okay, it's good enough. It's good enough for me. It's the important one. I prefer not taking the effort of looking for an alternative. you know for example, if Booking is the most important one for you, it's like a so demanding effort to try to find another one. That's happened, for example, with social communicating systems. For example, when you're using WhatsApp, for example, at least WhatsApp is super popular in Europe, for example, and everyone is using WhatsApp, widely. Obviously exists alternative, exists Telegram, exists well, probably I'm missing a lot of them, no? But exists different alternative. WeChat is so common in China, for example. WeChat is the most important social chat in China. Well, for Chinese people, WhatsApp is not an option because they use WeChat for so many things. They use WeChat in not only for communication, they use WeChat even for paying things in stores. They use WeChat for so many things. It's like a composition of different services at the same thing. No, so they are so familiar using WeChat. So that's the reason why they don't want to change. And the same happened with WhatsApp, even though exists probably even better options, even better options than WhatsApp, you prefer to keep yourself in WhatsApp because for you it's an effort to change because WhatsApp is familiar, because there are a lot of your friends and a lot of your family members inside of the platform, and you don't want to try to convince them to migrate because it's a lot of effort. So normally that's the reason to create a good product as fast as possible and being the first and the best for at least at the beginning, that consolidates your position. Even you can be bad at some point, even you are bad at some point. If you are able to consolidate your position at the beginning, it's more difficult for the audience, it's more difficult for the people to change because they got that familiarity from before. Okay, maybe I answered or not your question.
Oh, no, totally. Totally. Thank
Okay,
you for that. Thank you for the reflection.
perfect. Well, let's talk about decision making and social, okay, and social environments, because decision making is something that we mentioned yesterday. We mentioned about no, yesterday was, yeah, yesterday we were talking about social sorry, for decision making, but now let's talk about decision making in social environments when we are taking decision, maybe surrounded by people or affected by the decisions of other people. Okay, let's talk about groupthink. Groupthink is something that I mentioned before in the last module, but well, here is the same concept, but in consumer behavior environments, not in business. Okay, groupthink refers to situations where leadership style, group cohesion, and crisis lead to suspension of dissident. Okay, members of the group supports highly rational policies due to pressure for conformity within the group. The group thing normally works with groups that they are compact, so on, but also is something that you can find in large group, okay, large groups. But those groups needs to be connected somehow. It needs to have something in common, or needs to have tight communication, or belonging to a delimited group. Okay, but well, this phenomena is group thinking when exists a suspension of for the dissident. Okay, all the people works, or the people think in, or takes a specific behavior um, just for conform, to be so homogeneous, just being so homogenical, being so similar to each other. Okay. Causes of groupthink. Well, exist different causes. The belief of inherent morality. That means that you think that the group has the a good criteria, because there are so many people, so for sure there exists a certain level of moral, and they have they have a better moral, or a level of morality bigger, because there are so many people implied in that decision somehow. Okay, even though it's not a real thing, it's just a perception. Okay, it's just a belief. Direct pressure, okay, on dissidenters who challenge group norms. Exists that feeling of, if you are out of the group, of you think or act in a different direction, you will be you will be somehow punished, or you will be somehow pressured by the mass, the mass. This is something that happens, for example, in specific cultures that they don't let you think different, or wear different clothes, or having a extrovert personality, for example, or to be out of the norm. Okay, self-censorship of members who deviate from the consensus. So the group somehow is censorship that sorry, censoring these members of the group that they are, that they are trying to do something different. Okay, and exists an illusion of unanimity. Okay, exists this agreement. This is falsely perceived, that this agreement, that all is good, everyone thinks equally, in the same direction, even though it's probably wrong. For sure exists diversity inside of the group. Okay, an example of this. Okay, consumers align with a dominant opinions. Okay, reducing alternative exploration. That's something related with the thing that we were talking before. When we're talking about these huge brands that have the capacity of changing our way to consume a product. Okay, this is seen in brand communities where criticism is suppressed, or in trends like Apple products hype. When exists some tribal behavior around a product or around a service, because for people, something that define them is the fact that they choose an option. Okay, that option normally is related with spending money. For example, exists a phenomena that is called the war of consoles, of video games. Exist people that use PlayStation, and exist people that use Xbox, and exist and or people that use Nintendo, and they have different personalities somehow, because they have different tastes. They choose a specific machine, and they are constantly trying to justify the decision that they took when they spent $500 in a product. Obviously, if you spend so much money, you don't want to feel that you did something wrong. You prefer to reinforce the idea that you were intelligent enough for paying for the best of the products, because you spent $500 in a product. So you are able to defend your idea, to defend that action that you took, that behavior that you took a long time ago, saying that the others are wrong, the others are failing on those decisions, and you have the the truth, and you are better than them. And exists this tribal experience also. Okay, and if you are into the group of users of, I don't know, PlayStation, and you try to be critical with your own product, with your own tribe that you are belonging, probably you will receive some kind of bad comments from your peers that say, "Oh, come on, you are not fun enough. You're not a good fan of this brand, and you are not one of us." Sounds so silly, but it's real. It's something that happened in real world. Well, the polarization, that is something that is not only it's not only present in consumers' behavior, that's also happened in politics. Okay, group polarization refers when exists extremization, okay, of opinions, okay, as a result of group discussion. So when people discuss, okay, they tend to go to the extremes. Maybe without the discussion, people have, their own individual opinions. But when they start talking about their opinions with each other, when they discuss, the decisions become more extreme in the direction that they have. For example, I'm open-minded with a specific topic. I'm open-minded about, I don't know, abortion, for example. Okay, and I have a specific idea, my own idea, but when I start being vocal about my ideas about abortion with another person, and this person is against me, is against my opinion, my urgency to explain myself and my urgency to convince the other and my urgency to make my ideas stronger, I have the tendency to go to the extreme and extreme and extreme. Okay. Also, this kind of feelings, or this kind of phenomena, also are enforced by the algorithms in internet from nowadays. You know, the algorithms that make easier to find people with your own opinions, and you will be fit. You know, you will be fit with the opinions that are matching with your own opinions, because that makes more comfortable to be in the platform. That's a strategy. People that are in charge of these platforms, they want that you stay in the platform for longer time. The strategy for that is to surround your experiences to you know to make your experiences full, to your interactions, I mean, your interactions in the platform, full of people that think similar to you. Okay, then uh, you will feel reinforced by your own opinions, because you say, okay, I'm not wrong. I'm having the good idea. I'm having the good perception. I'm having the uh, I know that I'm right because I'm surrounded by people that think equally as me. You know, they think same as me. So that's the reason why exists the also the polarization at levels and important levels in social media, in Facebook, in Instagram, and these kind of things, and obviously in Twitter and so on, because the algorithms makes for you easier to connect and interact with people with the same uh, the same flow of thinking, so that's the reason why extremization is even in more intense in this digital context. Okay. Factors in the group polarization. Well, a stronger deviation occurs when the group decision is highly relevant. Okay, so when the decision for something is especially relevant, like for example, again, talking about abortion is an important topic. Okay, if that topic is important for you, you will be more and more, more and more polarized. You will be more extreme in your opinions. Okay, but the deviation is weaker when the decision is less significant. That's clear. Okay, if the topic is just a silly thing, you will not spend effort and you will not discuss for a longer time. And as you are not discussing at the same level, for sure you are not polarizing yourself. Okay. An example of this, well, group decisions intensify opinions. Okay, in marketing, this creates a strong brand loyalty or opposition, as seen in Tesla versus traditional car users, or debates on sustainable products. Okay, for example, people that at some point they bought Tesla. Okay, they spend a lot of money in a really really expensive product. Obviously they need to justify that the expenses of money, but also they have after that they have a feeling of belonging or in a group, in a specific group, and their opinion about sustainable products and their opinion about the ecological products is being polarized. It is being even more extreme than before. Okay, because they took a decision, they discuss more often with other users, and finally they have a polarization in this. How this can affect to other fields. I mean, if someone buy a specific product like a Tesla and they start being more and more polarized by this kind of opinions related with sustainable products, probably they will be more open-minded to buy products related with sustainability, and they will start having this kind of consumer behaviors related with products that are matching somehow with other similar products or products that are connected somehow. Okay. Well, let me check how long. Okay, we are about to finish. Okay, what's the time that we have? Oh, okay, perfect. We are doing so well this time. Well, social decision making. I'm gonna tell you this about this experiment. That was an experiment in a control environment, but it's something that you can find in real world. Okay, this is an experiment that has been used for understanding how the influence of the majority and the influence of minority, okay? Because we can be affected by both in different situations, okay? Let's talk about the experiment. The experiment consists in this, okay? Well, let me check if I can remove this. No, I cannot remove this. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the idea is, oh, okay, sorry. The idea is imagine this a scale of colors, okay? You can see clear blue in the left side and clear green in the right side. But what happened with the color in the middle? Okay? It's difficult to say if it's a blue, if it's a green. It's a color in the middle. We can say this is the color where blue turns green and green turns blue. It's that color. Let's define this color as, the threshold between two colors. Okay? Okay. I think this is objective. Okay? We agreed that this is the color. But in this experiment, they try to create a fictional environment where exists a majority of people, okay? They were actors, they were working for the researcher, okay? And those actors says that the middle color was not this. They says that the middle color was this. They say, oh, the middle color is this. This is the color where blue turns green and green turns blue. They will trying to convince everyone, okay? Just saying, okay, I think this is the color, the middle color. They say that. That's the opinion that they have. What happened? Well, when most of the participants, I insist, those participants were actors, says that the color blue, the middle color was this, okay? The group conformed to the majority opinion, okay? Trying to say, okay, I prefer, as an individual, I prefer not discussing about that. If all people say that this is blue, that this is the middle color, I prefer not discuss. I go to this opinion. Okay, I decide this. Okay, this is the majority influence. What is minority influence? Well, in another experiment, okay, they try something different. Instead of creating a majority of factors, they created a minority of factors. Maybe in a group of 10, they put two actors that say that the color of the middle is, I don't know, this green, for example. They say this is the color in the middle. They say, yes, 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 this is the color in the middle, this is the color, this is the color, blah, 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 this is the color. And they were so insistent. Okay? They were so insistent, and is a minority consistent. They try to be, repeatedly and being so vocal and trying to convince the others. Through trials, by repetition, the minority finally gradually influenced the majority. And more people start changing their perception of the color. That's crazy. Start thinking, because the consistent minority calling that this is the color, start swifting the perception to the greenish color. That's crazy. And I will tell you why this happened, okay? The key findings of this is majority creates compliance, okay? The majority effect creates a compliance. Most people conform publicly, but may not change their private opinion. So it's like people that were affected by majority, they changed their opinion just for avoiding conflict, but in their mind, you know, in your real the real opinion is still being the same, still being that the color in the middle is the real middle. Okay, this is how majority works. When you try to not create a problem, it's crazy. But then the consistent minority leads to conversion. That is interesting because the minority consistent stance can change both public opinion and also the private opinion over time. So people, when the rest of the participants, when they were asked by the perception, even after the experiment, they still thinking that this is the color in the middle because they were affected so consistently with the minority. Okay? The minority convinced them to change their mind about which one is the color in the middle. Okay? We can see this in so many cases. For example, majority influence. Let's talk about the majority first. Majority influence drive mainstream consumers' norms, like what is luxury, what is eco-friendly, and not only what it is, also convince people, to do a behavior because it's the norm, because you don't want to be in conflict with the norm. And finally, well, you go to there because everyone is going to the same direction. But probably you, in your inner thoughts, you are not convinced at all. You're just doing that because it's a trend, because it's something that you need to do. But what happened in minority influencers? Minority influence fosters niche markets, for example, electric cars, plant-based diets, okay? When a persistent minority shift the public perception of a product. So exist people, normally early adopters, that use a product and they are consistent. They use the product for longer time with strong opinions. They try to convince others, and finally, little by little, gradually, they change the behavior of a huge mass of people. Okay? They are able to do that with consistency. And finally, people that change their habits or they change their mind, they really feel that they did a good decision. That also happens in politics, for example. Uh, for example, about feminism, for example. You know, uh, Time ago, for example, the perception of feminism in whole world was different than now. Why? Because exists a minority of people. In this case, when I'm talking about politics, minority of people doesn't mean less people, means people with less power. Okay, when we're talking about politics, it's different. The minority is not, that doesn't mean that exists less women. Exists the idea that the women have less power in the world. Okay, that means minority in terms of politics. What I tried to say, that, well, in this minority context of power, I mean, women and especially feminist women were consistent and were fighting and were being vocal, and they trying to fight for their rights. Okay, and this, not at the beginning and not at the day after, but for a long time, fighting and fighting and fighting, they change our perception of them, and they change our perception of feminism in general. Okay, and this is the minority influence too. Okay, is when a minority is being so consistent that the minority is able to change the perception in a deeper way, and people can change their mind. Okay, that's the reason why minority is interesting to it could be interesting for you to make this kind of approach, make this kind of approach of trying to find people that even though they are a minority, if they are strong enough doing their spreading a message, they can change the perception of that product. They can change the perception of something. They can change the behavioral patterns of the people. So yeah, it's interesting to think about how minority can affect your campaign in a long term. Okay, do you have any question? No? Okay. Well, this is the last slide. Is about the neurological basis of these effects. Okay. Again, prefrontal cortex and social conformity. Okay, because the medial prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate cortex monitors the conflicts. Remember about the conflicts, the norms. You don't want to fight with the norms, and so that's the reason why prefrontal is trying to fit you in the wall. Okay, because you don't want to break the rules, you don't want to be out of the norm. Okay, reward system and social approval. Again, you will be reinforced by social approval. The dopamine release in the nucleus accumbens reinforce social validation. You try to be validated by your peers or people from other groups or whatever. Amygdala and emotional polarization. When exist the polarized debates, these debates are linked with amygdala activation, to be intense during these debates. And prefrontal cortex and minority influence. Well, that is something that I was telling before. That dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and hippocampus enhance critical thinking and long-term memory. Okay, and this facilitates the slow but lasting, this important but lasting impact of minority opinions. Well, we finished just in time, I think. Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you spend a good time. I hope you like it, this class. Tomorrow, no, sorry. The next week, we will do the class number 5 and exist the content of the class number 6. So the next class, probably I will post both class 5 and class 6, and I will try my best to deliver as much content as possible the next class. Those classes are so easy to do, so don't worry. They are mild, but for sure you will experience the class number 6 mainly by your own, because I don't think that I can give you all the content in just one class. It was impossible, and because we were behind during some days. But well, don't worry about the content, because you can use the notes for the exam, as you know, and you can use the notes even for the quizzes. I don't believe in the idea of memorizing the content and spitting them in the exam. So I prefer that you just interact with the content. You can know where the content is, and then apply properly in the made up content, the made up questions that I will prepare for you in the exam. Okay, any question at this point?
Friday is just the exam, isn't it?
What?
Next Friday is just the exam, isn't it?
Yes, because yes, I think so. I don't remember well, let me check. Yeah, I think so, because it's the last day of
Yeah,
yes,
it
the
is.
last day of yes, that would be
Right.
the
Okay.
remember, that will be 40 questions.
Mhm.
I will try those questions will be like real world examples of trying to make the questions more practical, and then you can use your notes for applying in real, well, not real world, but made up scenarios. Okay,
Excellent. Thank you.
perfect. See you next week, and
See
have
you
a
next week.
good weekend.
Thank
Bye
you so
bye.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
so
See you.
much. Bye bye.